Welcome to the Painter's Breakfast. It's a show I do every week where we eat food, we talk about art, we talk about different ways to kind of be seen as an artist, we talk about different ways that I'm working on being seen as an artist, and so on and so forth. I even field questions every once in a while. Today's breakfast is a guacamole sandwich, basically. So, hey! Oh my god, it's so good to see you. Hey, Mama. Sorry. I'm multicasting right now. So I've got the YouTube channel as well as the Instagram open, doing the live show. So it's very exciting to kind of get all these things going. Big announcement. I have finally reached 400 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So I'm really excited, actually. This is like a really big deal. So, but yeah, got the food, got it going. Everything's really well. I gotta move this over so I can see. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm really good. we're still in the process of selling our unit, just so people know. It is not as easy as I would like it to be, but it's coming along. We moved out a while back. We're clearing it out, and then we're just gonna flip it, and that's gonna be the end of it. And in the meantime, we have our apartment. It's very nice. It's very sweet and kind. Got my studio going. Got a lot of paintings going on also, for those who can see what I'm up to on average. This thing is up and about. I got the show going on soon in Gaithersburg, so that's going to be fun for the city of Gaithersburg. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. And that'll go up till May, and it's going up at the end of this month. So it's kind of my big thing that I'm trying to do. I got to frame everything today. I gotta, just gotta flip it, man. You gotta flip those units. Like that's all you can do. I find it funny because like they've had all these different like boards and whatnot, and the boards are very mad that like people are aware of the shady dealings in which the county decided that condos needed to have an obscene amount of money in storage, basically in reserve. And so it's kind of where we are. So rather than pay that ridiculous amount of money they want, I'm just not going to waste time with them. So, and I'm not going to fight with them. I'm not going to do all that stuff. I thought about fighting with them, and I was like, there's no really point, though. I'm not interested. Jack Doling says, Jesus loves you. Well, thank you. You tell Jesus I said, what's up? We need to catch up. Yes. Girl, we definitely have to catch up. We gotta all hang out. I gotta see Sam. I'm sure she's like 5'6" now, and you know, got a whole career, you know, going on. Of course, I have the ridiculous mug that the channel is known for. But yeah, you know, good food. That's the plan. I really want to make sure I had lots of good food. I think I know for my culture, a lot of good things start with good food. So, another on the way. Good for you. Congratulations, girl. That's amazing. Love you guys. I miss you. So, for those who can't see, because once again, simulcast, my friends, who are my neighbors, who are amazing, moved and had a baby. And now they're having another baby. And they're incredible people. So I know they're great parents because they're already incredible people. We used to sit around and play dominoes and drink tequila like all the time. That was like our thing. It was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time. I haven't really drank since then, actually, now I think about it. Because after my diabetes got bad, so I had to kind of cut back on some stuff. But I still play dominoes, so there's that. I think the funny thing about like the dominoes thing was like I knew so many people who like wanted to get into it, and they're like, we should do like a league. I was like, why don't we just play? Why don't we just play? So occasionally we'll still meet up and we play, but it's more like an outdoor event with all the tios. So we all just kind of sit around with our libation of choice, and then we do those things. So let me see. Avocados are supposed to be one of the best foods to eat, hoping the new tariffs will not happen, said Frank James English. Yeah, I agree. See, the weird thing is, I remember growing up as a kid, we would go see family and stay in like Trinidad and Brazil and the DR. And avocados just grow on trees. Like they're just, the same way like you would see like an apple orchard in America is how you would see avocados and like mangoes and all that stuff. So these were just like foods that were just in like hot peppers and all that stuff. Like these were just things people grew in their front yard. I mean, they're gated, but they're like front yard. So it was not uncommon for like neighbors to give gifts of like vegetables and stuff like that. So the concept of like very expensive avocados still feels very foreign to me, even after all these years. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I've lived in this country for a long time. And it still feels very strange to see. There's like two things that really kind of catch me off guard to this day about this place. And that is one, that avocados are expensive. And then two, that people buy avocados. Yeah, people in Florida, they grow them. That's true. And that people buy avocados. They'll buy like a big bag of avocados. It takes like a week to ripen. And it's always just kind of interesting to me because like when I buy avocados, I typically buy them either for the day or for the next day. And that's it. It's always felt weird to me to see people who have like 9 avocados that all go ripe at the same time. It's always wild to me because I'm just like, you can eat 9 avocados in a day? That's crazy. And they're not like mangoes, you can't freeze them. Yes, I freeze my mangoes. Don't tell the rest of the Afro Latino West Indian community. Um, they'll get me. there's a secret tariff. You don't want to know about it. Yeah. So it's always been interesting to me how that kind of works. It's just kind of how I mean it's more of a preference thing, how people do their stuff. But, you know, it is what it is. Smoothies, there's all types of stuff. I mean, it's a very like key ingredient in a lot of food for me and for a lot of people I know. So it's interesting to see people who I don't know, like I don't understand it. I'm annoyed. The whole tariff thing is ridiculous. So it's I feel like that's just a con man trying to figure out how to do a cash grab. It's like, hey, I could do this, or you could give me freedoms to make as much money as I want. You're like, come on, man, y'all can't still be falling for this at this point. The only downside about eating avocado with facial hair is that it will be in your facial hair. Some of you can't grow beards, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, it was good seeing you too. I'll see you around. Yeah, we gotta link up. We'll do all the thing. Alec misses y'all, so that'd be great. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I'll never understand. It's a cultural thing. It's plainly a cultural thing though. But yeah, I used to have these giant like house parties where if I had like a lot of avocados, I would make this huge punch bowl full of guac, and that would just be in the middle of the table, and then you make all these other foods to go with it. So you would do like different types of bread, like flatbreads. You could do tortillas. You could do like taco fixings, burritos. You could do pretty much anything. I mean, obviously tortillas, chips, but in certain parts of the world, like it's a side dish. So the way you would eat like mashed potatoes on a plate, well, not the way you would eat them, but the way you would kind of put them out in such a way. So it was interesting. It was interesting to me. It may not be interesting to you, and that's okay. But I don't know. I love it. Guacamole is probably one of my favorite foods of all time. I could eat it every day. I would be super happy. But the problem is, yeah, it doesn't last extremely long. I do know tricks that people do with it, but they sound more like hate crimes than they do recipes. Like I have a friend who their secret is they add mayo to their guacamole, and that apparently keeps it from going brown faster. I'm not interested in that. Seems gross. Also not a huge fan of mayo. Another one somebody said was they put a layer of water on top of it, like they pour water on top, and then they just saran wrap it, and it keeps it fresh. It sounds like it'd be real gross though, so I don't know. I mean, most of these things are probably good, but it's just you have to get out of that mindset of nasty. A lot of lemon juice is a good idea. I use limes for mine. I've tried lemon juice before. It's okay. It's just not my favorite. Um, yeah, because I didn't have limes in my house, so I tried lemon juice, and then it was kind of that way. A lot of times, um, I didn't do it with this because has, someone in our family has a allergy to garlic. But what I typically do is I add like 3 kilos of garlic, chop them up, you crush them in a mocha. So I use a mocajete, which is like a mortar and pestle for those who don't speak Spanish. And you grind you chop up your onions, you chop up your garlic and your jalapenos, and then you just drench it in lime juice and then let it sit for like 5 minutes, and then you season everything, and then once you've done that, then you start to crush everything up with the molcajete. I don't know why my nose is just so bad right now. And it's really good. It does like a it kind of softens them, but it's got kind of a bit of a kick to it, which is nice. But I did not come up with this recipe, for the record, for the garlic. Yes, a nice, sexy gift for you, where I lick my finger. Hey, Mika, what's up? Welcome to the show. Um, so there's all these like foods and stuff that people do. I think that's kind of like one of the great things that I always loved about like my Latino and my West Indian family, like when they come together for food, they they share recipes. There's no like secrets like I'm dying with this recipe type of mentality. Like if anything, they'll never stop talking to you about what they're doing. They love to talk about the food that they're making and how to make it and how they first came about it, how somebody's grandma used to teach them. Like there's a full family tree that you go through. Just in general in learning about how like foods and all this stuff come from. And then while that's going on, there's all this music playing, a lot of like calypso and like bachata and probably even some salsa, and it's just nice. That's it. But it's cool. It's really cool. I miss that. Like as you get older, those people die, essentially, and some of that is lost. Like I see with my cousins right now, I keep talking about like coming together and like doing all these festivals and foods and all these things, and we've all moved far away from each other for the most part. Like my cousin Ty, we're still close, but everybody else is kind of scattered to the winds, you know. Frank English says, sounds great. We live in a very multicultural city of I'm not sure how to say that. Hamtramck inside Detroit. So much good food. That's what I'm talking about, man. Like I'm always amazed and blown away by people who don't go into their city and try like all the different foods that are all around. Like it's just so amazing and delicious and just skillful. You know what I mean? Like it's got all these great opportunities to try things you've never tried before. Like when I moved here and eventually met my wife, we do need to hang out. It has been forever, actually. That'd be cool. Um, my wife introduced me to like Ethiopian food. I'd never had Ethiopian food before, and it was just it's so different and so beautiful. Like visually, it's beautiful, but it tastes really good. Like really, really good. Like it will probably be, if I were to rate it, I would say it's in my top three foods. Period. So, you want to see the big painting? I know you do. That's fun. Nothing like throwing something to the ground by accident. There we go. You move a camera and then you realize you're like, oh, well, this is violent. Sorry. Yeah, big painting. Look at my butt. There we go. Yeah, I feel like it's pretty nice. You know what I mean? Like it's come together. Honestly, I was in the middle of reading a bunch of things about a report that had come out about infant mortality, and it stuck with me, and so I've been working on this painting ever since. Actually, so we got like the tree kids, the crow, my patterns, the alligator, hearts, I am a revolutionary, soy un revoluciono, and so on and so forth. I feel good about it. I don't know if it's done. It's kind of the other thing. I think with like being an artist, you make a lot of art and you're never quite sure if it's perfect, but you want it to be really good. So you kind of give it a few days. I think that's kind of what I always tell a lot of artists. Give it a few days and see how you feel about it. You know? Like, do you feel like it's still done? Do you feel like it needs a little more? Like, what does it need? What is it about? Like, just keep good vibes in the studio. Burn the stuff. Burn the stuff. All things. Take that as you wish. Let me see. What art book are we gonna look at today, Galeras? We got so many. Let me see. I don't think I've ever shown you this one. I don't think we ever went through this one before. Yeah, we definitely didn't go through this one. So, I was in the middle of kind of working on these ideas of like, I just seen my buddy Ryan in North Carolina, and he's a tattoo artist. And he was showing me all this flash that he was working on, and I kept thinking about like weird flash that I could do. That was fun. And so I started doing all these like weird popsicles, like strange, eccentric popsicle designs. I was going in coffee shops and drawing a lot and painting a lot. So it was all kind of part of that journey that you do as an artist, trying to figure out like what the next big step is going to be. Where's it going to come from? Where's the inspiration going to come from? I've been a mechanic for a really long time. I work on bikes. I've got at least, I don't know, like a dozen years of experience at this point. And so building and rebuilding hubs and stuff like that have always been really beautiful and kind of graceful to me. So I started doing like little drawings in Flash and little paintings and stuff like that. And I was just kind of playing around with these ideas. My wife shows up in a lot of my work. Many different versions of my wife show up in a lot of things. I was thinking about how I was gonna like do this for maybe a book that I was working on, and so I started drawing all these kind of strange little ideas. I started playing with colors. This is a watercolor tiny little sketchbook, by the way. So this is a cold press watercolor sketchbook. It's not very big. I don't know the actual dimensions of it because they don't say. But about the size of a hand. So it was easy to carry with me. But I started kind of playing around with like line designs and all that stuff. And I would bring like a 3 with me so I could get like chunky lines. But if I turned the pen, it would give me more straight lines. So I had a lot more control with it. And then I kind of moved past all these things. And occasionally I would like write stuff in this. Like so, like this guy. I don't know what this says, so I may regret this immediately. My illustration career started at age 4 under desk world with grass made of old shag carpet rugs fueled by red hots, vinyl records made up the soundtrack of my imagination's dancing shoes. The sky hung chandeliers with blue lights over square fish bowls. Guardians watched their world bubble out in the shape of Ferris Silveritis Cortis. So, Ferris Silveritis Cortis. Gatas. Gatas? Gatas. Maybe gatas. It looks like a C though. Cactus? Cactus. I always think the weird thing about most stuff is like you write stuff and you're like, I don't know what I wrote. It doesn't. I can't read that. It looks like something like a child wrote. And it was just kind of interesting. Like I've always loved, like I said, dominoes. They stick with me through all these years. And I've always loved just making stuff. I wish every painting started with a story. The story unfold with the strokes, heart and minds twist in time as sleep bakes desserts in mind's eyes. I'm not gonna read all these because some of these don't make any sense. Your boy wrote things sometimes more in like a lucid idea than more of a specific type of thing. Pinups, because that's what we do. I mean, I haven't done pinups for a while, but I still go back to them every once in a while. I feel it's like very relaxing sometimes to just kind of draw like the human form. I started doing the luchador mask originally because I just loved the luchador mask. And then at a certain point, I started getting commentary that people thought the faces I drew were ugly because they weren't traditional European faces. And so people would say, you know, and it made me self-conscious for a while. Like, honestly, it really did. And then as time went by, I realized, like, it didn't matter, you know? Like, I was representing these black and brown women with these drawings. And so they didn't need to fit these perfect Eurocentric queens and kings Elizabethan ideas of what beautiful was. And I just kind of let myself be free. Like, I think a lot of times with style and learning kind of different techniques and then coming up with your own techniques, like, you have to learn to be okay with one, not everybody's going to love everything you do. And then two, like, what you're comfortable with is your style. Like, I've been doing this for over 40 years now. So I don't really care if people don't like what I make, you know? Like, I like what I make, and my fans like what I make. Which, once again, thank you to all 400 of you who subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm still trying to get up to 1,000. I mean, I'd love to get up to like 100,000. But I'd be happy with just 1,000 by the end of the year. That'd be really cool. We're getting close to monetization every couple of weeks, so I appreciate it. I'd love to give more time and devote more time to this. I do a live show sometimes where I paint live. It's just sometimes I'm just so tired at the end of the week. I'm doing all this stuff, and then there's a whole aspect of like setting things up and doing these things. So a lot of times what I will do is I'll do a bunch of shorts and then I'll put music to them and then put them up so that people can watch them and see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. And I like that, honestly. It's just a little harder sometimes with the live stuff because, like, you need quiet in a way to work on some things. Like, to work on all this stuff and to do all these things, like, I have to make sure that, like, people aren't going to walk in the studio while I'm doing stuff, or they're not going to try and talk or have these discussions or whatever. And so it's kind of one of those things. Let me see. What did Frank say? Frank says the yellow and the red elements seem to be consistent in some of your recent works. Yeah, I do a lot of it, honestly. I do a lot of it. My main colors I use in all my work are primary colors, honestly. I make it a point to do that. And then a lot of times I will mix colors. But yellow and red come up a lot, though. Blue to me is almost like a flavor. So I try to do like a lot of different blues. Yellows, I typically use like a canary yellow. I really love a canary yellow. And then my reds, I go all over with my reds. But they work well for me, honestly. I've been using ink for so long. I use a lot of ink washes. And yeah, my I'll I wish I could read you my artist statement for the year. I've been working on the same artist statement for like 10 years now. So I got a template. How I found it first was I had a template for my art, for my artist statement, and then I kind of have expanded upon it as years and years and years have gone by. So now I try to more just kind of go for it. It's who I am. It's what I do. I do love doing interviews, though. I've done so many interviews throughout the last couple of years for art books, for art shows, for all these things. If you're going to be in the city of Gaithersburg, there's going to be a very cool, it's not an open house, Meet the Artist event in March, essentially towards the end of March. So we're going to do that. And me and my wife are going to go, and I will change into the character who is El Pintor. So I got my jumpsuit and all that cool stuff. And El Pintor is he's a different beast. I told people years ago, I had a really great friend who got kind of nervous about doing art shows. She's like an insane muralist who's amazing. But the idea of like presenting her work to people face to face is very intimidating. And so I told her, come up with like a character then, Come up with a character that represents all the things and wants that you have that you think you're going to need for art shows. And then, dress like them. Come up with them and dress like them and do all these things. And so she's been doing that. I think she did it once and she felt really comfortable. And I think that works for shows, like until you get kind of used to it and accustomed to it. Like I am La Gama, I am El Pintor, I am all these things. And so I make it a point to be that guy when I show up. Because like normal me talks like this. I'm very laid back, I'm very chill, etc. Like El Pintor, he's more like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? How are you doing today? Come over. Come talk to me. It'll be great. And then people do. And then we just talk about whatever. We talk about whatever. We fill out flyers. I have like games and stuff set up for people. I have candy. I have flyers for them to fill out. So like I put out this piece that has a cassette tape and then it says top 5. And then of the top 5 or any top 5 you want whatsoever. They don't have to be related to each other. They don't have to roll together. They don't have to do anything together. It's just about what you consider to be your top 5 things, period. And people said everything from sports teams to like favorite foods to music to their favorite people, all that stuff. And it was just kind of great. All right, so this page says, we are but the generation of people of fire. Nothing done 20 years ago still works. No doors lead to Narnia, so we are remaking our own world. Time is not a movie or a book. It is a life. I get deep sometimes. I catch myself off guard. And yeah, the end of the book. Somebody asked me years ago, my buddy Said asked me if I was going to make these into actual like books for people to have. Like print them and then make them that way, like a sketchbook type of thing. I don't think I ever will. I think I might redo some of these and then make those into art books. Because I think I'm on my 4th or 5th art book at this point. So I do as I do with it, but I don't know. So this one is a very old one someone gave me, and it's just kind of playful. I think sketchbooks are meant to be playful. They're not meant to be serious. You're not doing finished artwork. You're doing more kind of like mistakes. You're trying out things. You're doing stuff like that. So as I say that, this is my caveat for this very strange and possibly ugly book. And you just play with things. You play with colors, you play with just ideas, you play with funny little perspectives, you know? And you just go. You go for it. I always like the idea of like telling little stories with your art. Telling little like the illustrations are somehow related to one another. They play off of each other. Maybe they tell a story. Maybe they tell a story of what you were and the time frame in which you existed. And that to me is like this really beautiful, like fun, funky color jammy jam type of thing. Pajama jammy jam. And yeah, it's just interesting. Like you could do so much with just the ability of the idea that you are making something for the sake of making something, and it's not necessarily for a particular purpose or a particular anything. Like it's just for the sake of it. I can fill these out. I haven't done anything with the rest of these. I'm gonna leave this out. I'm gonna use this maybe today. But yeah, that for the most part is kind of it. If you have any questions, we can talk about those. We can have some stuff back and forths. Yeah. Otherwise, I think we're done. Cool stuff. Would you consider making a book focused on bikes, bike projects, and culture? Projects and culture to publish. Um, it's been brought to my attention before. It is a possibility. Um, I mean, I think the weird thing about being a mechanic for so long is I'm more the bike culture of a mechanic is not always the bike culture of like the people who like ride 100 miles on like events and stuff. Like it's more the functionality. It's more like the little bits and parts and pieces and stuff. The little tiny little intrinsic type of things or whatever, the parts, the pieces. Those are the things that interest me the most about a lot of it. It'd be more like the cranks. The bolts, the handlebars, the frames, the way tires fold, stuff like that is really interesting to me. Bottom brackets, headsets. I'm just naming random parts now. Tandems, unicycles, all this random shit that people love. Dread, what's up, man? And yeah, so yeah, I could see that at some point in time. Kind of like a love letter to bike mechanics. I could see that. I don't know that I would just make like a straight up like lots and lots of bikes painted type of book. But I could see something like that coming together. That'd be interesting. I remember once upon a time there was this group. They're still around. This bicycle group called Redshift, and a bunch of my friends are on that team. And they wanted me to maybe do like a logo type for them, and it never really came through. But it was interesting to see how much like art to them was like this really interesting thing. So I always liked that. I always thought the weirdest part about biking and working on bikes and being a mechanic and all these things was there's no like diagram book on how to do everything. And I always thought about maybe doing like a diagram, like an illustrated book on how to do a lot of things because I thought it would be fun to maybe draw and make diagrams on like how to change a tire, how how to take a wheel on and off, how to route cables, how to do all this stuff, headsets, how to press bearings and stuff like that. Like a lot of these tools look very strange and like almost alien when you look at them if you don't know what they are. Like they're not as simple. But a lot of it is like very small small adjustments make a lot of things. So in a way it's very similar to art in that aspect because these little details make up so much of it. So in a way, yeah, maybe. Maybe. It's possible. I mean, I do love a good bike messenger. I think bike messengers have always been cool. They're always like the rock stars of all this stuff. More so than the racers, more so than the velodrome kids, more so than a lot of that stuff. So messengers have like this. It's almost like you're seeing inside of the kitchen, so to speak. So it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. What would you want to see in that? I guess would be the question. I'll treat you like a client. What would you like to see? I'll ask you the questions I ask. I ask people who come to me for commission work. In your eyes, like what do you envision? What do you see it as? What would you if you're opening this book and it's all these things about like bikes and bike culture, like what specifically are you expecting to see in it, you know? Would be the question. Because I think like it means different things to different people. Some people it just means like expensive bikes, you know. Other people it's they found really great deals on stuff that are bike that's bike related that is somehow the frugality of it is what they love so much about bikes. So it's interesting to see these like extremely old pieces and parts that are making this Rube Goldberg machine continue to go. So it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I think we got time for one more book. Do one more book. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Showed you that one a while back. Some of these I don't know what's even in them. So it's always kind of interesting. Haha, a big guy. I don't know what's in this. So I'm intrigued. Okay, I remember this one. This one doesn't have that much art in it, actually. I think that's kind of the weird thing about a lot of artists. We make stuff and then we get distracted by something new. And then we don't finish the books. I'm good about finishing them now, but when I look back at how I did them then, it's just very different. Like my tools that I use now are different than what I used to use. I don't use pens as much, if at all. So a lot of those details kind of go away in a lot of ways. They're kind of counteracted by other bigger kind of designs and details that I wanted to work on. This is just regular paper, so there are moments where I painted it, and then there are other moments where I didn't, because they bleed through, and so you have to kind of be more flexible with how much you can kind of oversaturate paper, even to do like an ink wash or to do anything involving really anything. I think the funniest part about when I look back at these, because like I'm seeing them for the first time in a couple of years, via a couple of years. So, oh no, don't fall. So in that, I don't really paint, My lines are a little more controlled or a little less controlled, depending. Mix of sketches on parts artistic. Okay, so this is the art. This is the biking thing. A mix of sketches on parts, artistically illustrated projects, whole bikes, people you meet, but all artistic as your sketchbook. Yeah, that'd be fun. Do like some line drawings? Do like some maybe some blind, even some blind kind of figure kind of sketches where you don't look at the page. You're just drawing like a quick version of these things and maybe have some. I think the problem would be just the stories because you need to kind of have context to things. So then I have to like write stuff out, which I have to admit is not my strong suit. I'm not good about putting details for a lot of things. I try to be better about it, but even now, as an artist who's been doing it for 40 years, like I still have weak points that I have to work on. And that's just life, you know? Like you are good at some things, great at others, and some things you're not so great at all. And you just go for it, you know? They are as they are and they do as they do. I think the funny thing about my sketch, the way that I sketch is much different than the way that I paint. Well, much different isn't the right word. The way that I paint is different than the way that I like do a lot of other things because I can kind of play with different mediums in different ways. And a lot of times those mediums are made up of all these other types of things. All right, here we go. Let me see. This is one of my ones I actually wrote up. This is Art School Stories. Back in 2003, I was a kid deep in the drink, trying to find my voice. The search for an artist style is the haunted house of art school. It is the white whale you can end up humbled. So I'm in Facilidad de Arte. I'm dating this girl who I should have broken up with, but lonely artist problems. And I'm in this figure drawing class. In the class in high school, my high school crush from 4 years ago is in a robe. She is the model. I'm this little ashy kid of 23 looking in every direction but at her in this class about drawing nude bodies. I did finally draw her after 10 minutes. I think I did well. We talked about class and caught up. The girl I was dating hated everything about me in art school. Many, many years later, we broke up. I almost stopped painting to make it work, but my heart is alive in the strokes. Me not making is a volcano de revreda. So like a fin de mundo. End of the world. I made peace with painting and pain a decade later and never looked back. So the model, my 17-year-old kid crush, was the class model for a month. I got to go over my memories and learn how to separate art from sexuality. I never wanted to lust after muses. I saw it as a weakness in most of my heroes. In the like Picasso and all these people, like they're always trying to fuck their models. I didn't want to be that guy ever. In the middle of drawing, the model takes a header into a cold stone floor. Teeth and blood go everywhere. My courage left me as I was frozen, afraid to reach out and help. Everyone ran over and helped her, but I did call for an EMT. that was when I started showing art for the first time, first real time that year. I invited the class, and a few came. The models all came because they like to see pictures themselves. Um, and the old man, the old woman, and the high school crush all made the face. They gave me a lot of insight. They had seen a million self portraits, or portraits, not self portraits, but saw equality in my work, my way with faces, mostly mouths. They saw things I kept trying to fix about my style. This journey to draw like everyone else ended. I found my style somehow, just making beyond my fears and learning to love myself. I'm still learning. My heart goes out to past me. He didn't have enough confidence to be fearless in making. He had to get burned a lot to forget to fear failure. We're almost done. So I'm at college. This is all like I think I wrote this probably like 15 years ago. So I'm at college surrounded by amazing artists in Charlotte, North Carolina. We sat around playing show and tell with brushes and paints. It was a collection of rubber bands in a formed ball, that life was a fishbowl writing a phone book. It looked pretty, but made madness possible, which is not to say I didn't love it, but it broke parts of me and left me broken. Way many alcoholics feel faced crisis, me then and us. Me, them, and us. So when I was in art school, I had a bit of a drinking problem, much like Jackson Pollock and all these other people. I was scared and I was nervous, and so I would make art, but I was always afraid to like. If I got too much in my head, I would be like, "Oh man, if I do this, then it's not gonna sell, or it's not gonna do well, or people aren't gonna like it, or whatever." And like as time went by, I realized that like the work that I didn't like, people still liked, so it didn't matter. But also, it didn't matter if they liked it or not. Like I was doing it and making it for the sake of doing it and making it. And so that was kind of how I came about into the artist that I am and the things that I do. I think a lot of art was just kind of difficult to some degree because I wanted to find out how I was going to come about as this artist that I envisioned myself to turn out into. So much so that I even kind of I looked at all these other artists that I loved and tried to copy how they would do storyboarding, and I tried to kind of learn how to storyboard from looking at their work. And I was like drawing comics, I was redrawing comic books, and I was just the Spider-Man. And I was doing all these things, and I was realizing like there's no really wrong way to do most of this stuff. Like all you can really do is just kind of be a part of art and strange little ideas, and that's what being an artist is. Like it is this idea that you can do pretty much anything and make pretty much anything. And it's all art. Whether it's celebrated or it's not celebrated, or it's made or it's not made, or it comes about or it ceases to be or whatever, like it's still art. And you kind of can't rush or push through all those things. Yeah, yeah. So this was one that I thought I was gonna do for maybe a book about bike mechanic stuff. So this one's literally like a step by step on how to change a flat tire. Let me see. Step 1, use tire lever to open the tire from the tube. It even has all the items. New tubes, new tire, new tubes, baby powder, tire lever, plastic bag, flat flat tire, tire pump, a rag, some rim tape. And I just kind of went through all the things. Mix of sketches on parts. Oh, okay, I'm rereading the same thing twice. Yeah, and it just kind of had all those types of things. It was interesting to do. I took a class where somebody said you should like use your sketchbook as like a journal in a way. So you just kind of make all these little things about all the little things you do throughout the day. So this is like May 27th. Coffee, cats. Got to feed the cats at 5 a.m. Gatos camisas, which is cat food. Carro, which is the car. Bikes are infinite devils. Wrench and screws, spaghetti. Thinking about filming indie films. Was thinking at that time about my Super 8 camera, which is this gigantic beast. I still haven't finished my project with. Relax, paint. Our dog was alive back then, so this is a while back. May 13th. Cats and the dog, walk the dog, all the crazy things. Little strange pieces and bits. And then, yeah. Little weird kind of drawings. I think art is enjoyable as long as you let yourself enjoy it. Generations of different times in my art career where I was drawing things. A lot of these have empty pages. I gotta go back and do some of these. I absolutely do. It's just funny how all of it kind of works. My wife, Alec, tried to organize all this stuff a while back, and I've basically just made a mess of it. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave you be. Have a good day. It's almost an hour at this point. Thank you, everyone who joined me. I appreciate you so much. You're wonderful. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, comments, etc. You guys are great. You are wonderful. Like I said, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize this channel. We're at 400, which is great because I think last month we were at like 360. So that's huge. Big growth. So yeah, I love you much. Have a good day. Have a good week. There's an art video coming out tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled. And I do lots of art shorts all week. So please check them out. And I will see you next time. Have a very wonderful painter day. Painter out. Bye.